Hi guys, welcome to another video, and this is Functional Skills Maths Level 2, Past Paper 2. If you're part of my class, you should find these in Google Classroom. If you're not part of my class, you can download them in the link below. Let's go straight into it. So Section A, non-calculator, this is question 1. Here are the times in seconds 5 athletes took to finish a 100-meter race. So you got 11.05, 10.94 and so on. Find the median for part A. 2 marks. So hopefully you should know median means the middle value. So you have to put them in order first. Let's put them in order. I usually do small to large. So the smallest one is that one there, so 10.91. And let's cross that off the list, so we eliminate that one. 10.94 is the next one. Then we have 11.05, and then we have 11.12 and another 11.12. Okay, so now when you cross your numbers off the from the ends, so you work your way towards the center. That goes with that. That goes with that. You're left with one in the middle, and in this case is 11.05. Let's put that in the answer box right there. Yep. There you go. So yeah, obviously 1 mark for your working, 1 mark for your answer. Part B says find the mode. Hopefully you know that the mode means the one that appears the most, or the most frequent, let's say. Yeah, and the best way of remembering that, they both start with MO. So mode means most. Let's just go back to the list. I'm pretty sure I know which one it is. It was these two, wasn't it, which appeared twice. So obviously the answer is going to be 11.12. Yep, for your 3rd mark. 3 marks in total. Let's move on to question 2. Question 2 says, here is a formula, h equals square root of a squared minus b squared. Find the value of h when a is 10 and b is equal to 8. 3 marks. So we have to replace, there's an a here and a b here, so we just have to replace them with whatever they said. So h, which is what we're trying to find out, equals the square root, let's do a massive square root like this, and then what they did, they open brackets, inside the brackets is a squared, so instead of a I'm going to put 10 squared. There's a minus in the formula, and then b squared, and they said b was 8. And remember, this is without the calculator, so you'd have to work these out separately. So hopefully you know squared means multiply by itself. So 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100, and 8 squared means 8 times 8, which is 64. So now we've got this. Let me just move the screen down a little bit. So we have to work out 100 take away 64, and if you're not sure, you can work out on the side and take these away. Might need to borrow again. So 10 take away 4 is 6, 9 take away 6 is 3, and that's a 0. So h is equal to the square root of 100 take away 64 is 36. And now there's only one thing left to do. The square root of 36, so something times something gives you that 36. That something must be 6. Yep, so if you just go up in your squares, so obviously 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4, 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9, 4 squared, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 squared, 36, and so on. So if you know your squares, you should know your square roots by working backwards. So working backwards, what's the square root of 36? It must be 6. 3 marks for that question. Yep, I'll put it here as well. Let's move on to the next one. Question 3. Alex is the manager of a hospital canteen. He reviews the meals the patients choose. On Monday, there were 240 patients in total. A third of these patients chose pasta. 3/8 of these patients chose beef stew. The other patients chose chicken. How many patients chose chicken on Monday? 4 marks. So, let's break this down. So there's only going to be between pasta, beef stew, and chicken. So we've already got the fraction of how many chose pasta. We've got the fraction of how many chose beef stew. So if we can work out the fraction of the other patients who chose chicken, then once we have that as a fraction, we can work out the fraction of the amount and get our answer. So these fractions are different. Let me put it this way. Let's put pasta here. Let's put beef stew here. Yeah, and chicken must be here. So it's only these 3 options, can't be anything else. So for pasta, they said we have a third. Beef stew, we've got 3/8. Chicken, we don't know. Okay, but that's the other, or the rest of the patients. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could work out a third of 240. So work that out, and without the calculator, if you work out a third of anything, you just divide by the denominator, so you just divide by the 3. So for example, 240 divided by 3, let's use the bus stop method. 3 into 2 doesn't go. 3 into 24 goes 8 times, and that's a 0. So 80 patients chose pasta. Let's work out 3/8 of 240. Again, you divide by the bottom and multiply by the top. You could do it the other way around. I usually do the division first because I'm left with smaller numbers. So let's do 240 divided by 8 to get 1/8. That's going to be 30. And if we times that by 3, that's going to give me 3/8, which is 90 patients. So already we've got 80 patients there, 90 patients there. How many is that already? So 80 plus 90 is 8 plus 9 is 17. Yep, so that's going to be 170 already. Let's take that away from, what was the total? 240 should leave us with how many there are for who picked the chicken dish. So let's put here 240 take away, what was it, 170. Let's take these away. I'm gonna have to borrow. 40 take away 7 is 7, and that's a 0. So yeah, you've got 70 patients who chose chicken. Let's put that in the answer box. There you go. That's one way of doing it. I'm sure there are other ways as well. That's probably what I would do in the exam if I had this in the exam. 4 marks for that, obviously. So you get 3 marks for your working, 1 mark for your answer. Let's move on to the next question. Question 4. Roberto paints advertising boards. Each board is in the shape of a triangular prism. Yep, we can see what it looks like. 1 litre of paint covers 10 meters squared. Roberto has 2 litres of paint. Roberto has 3 advertising boards. to cover with paint. He needs to cover all 5 faces of the triangular prism with paint. The area of each triangular face is 0.12 meters squared. Will 2 liters of paint be enough to cover the 3 advertising boards? You must show all your work in. 6 marks. Wow, that's a lot of marks for one question. So, first thing you should ask yourself when you get a shape question, is it to do with area or is it to do with, in this case, because it's a 3D shape, surface area or volume? And hopefully you've realized it's to do with, I mean, the clue's right there. It says area in the question. So definitely to do with surface area. And they're talking about meters squared as well. So if you imagine, he's going to cover this, it even says in the question, he's going to cover the 5 faces. So he's going to paint on the outside. Yeah, so that face there, the back triangle, all of these faces. Yeah, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do have 5 faces for each triangular prism. So let's work out the surface area of one of these shapes. First of all, though, I don't like these millimeters. They were talking about meters squared. So let's change everything to, I would change everything to meters so that, you know, when you do get the area or the surface area, your answer will be in meters squared. So if you're not sure, 1 meter equals, well, 1 meter is 100 centimeters, so times that by 10, it's going to be 1,000 millimeters. So if you divide these by 1,000, that's going to be 4 meters. That's going to be 0.5 meters. That will be 0.6 meters, and that will be 0.5 meters. Yep, that's everything in meters. Let's work out, well, actually we've already got the area of each triangular face. So we've already got the area of, we've already got this bit here, the triangular face. Okay, so the only areas we need to work out is this side here, this rectangular side, which is going to be the same as the other side, and I might need to work out the base separately, which is another rectangle. Let's work out, I'll tell you what, let's call this the right hand side. Yeah, let's call that the left hand side on the other side, and let's call that the base at the bottom. So let's do right hand side, which is area is length times width. So that's going to be 4 meters times 0.5. So 4 times 0.5. Or another way of saying that is half of 4. And what's half of 4? That's going to be 2. Yep, so you can work out the quick way. It's just the way you say it. Hopefully you got the same answer. And that's going to be the same as the left-hand side. That's also 2 meters squared. Let's work out the base separately. Let's double check. Well, the base is 0.6 times 4. I'm going to have to work that out like this. 0.6 times by 4. Let's work that out. 4 sixes are 24. Carry the 2. That's 0 times 4 is 0, plus the 2 is 2. And it's 1 decimal place, which is there. So altogether, let's work out the total surface area of one board, let's say, which is 2 plus another 2 plus 2.4 plus the 2 faces. What were the 2 faces? 2 faces were 0.12. So 0.12 plus another 1.12, because you've got 2 triangular faces. Remember, you've got one here at the front, and you got one here at the back as well. Yep, that should be 5 faces. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's all of them. I'm going to have to do it like this. I'm going to have to add it in a line. Let's do it like this. 0.12, 0.12, 2.4 goes there. The 2 goes here and the 2 goes here. Is that all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And I tell you what, I'm going to add zeros so that it's all in line. So 2 plus 2 gives me 4. 1 plus 1 plus 4 is 6. And that's 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is another 6. So I reckon for one board, it will be 6.64 meters squared. That's for one board. Yep, so that's the surface area of one board. He's going to cover 3 of these boards. Let's times that by 3. Let me do that on the next page. 6.64 times by 3. 4 3s are 12, carry the 1. 6 3s are 18, plus the 1 is 19, carry the 1. 6 3s are 18, plus the 1 is 19 meters squared. So there's my 3 boards. Oh, right. So will 2 litres of paint be enough to cover 3 advertising boards? What did he say about 2 litres of paint? So he said 1 litre of paint covers 10 meters squared. He has 2 litres of paint. So this is what he's got. Let's see what he's got. So let me just draw an arrow. So if 1 litre equals 10 meters squared, he's got 2 litres, which equals 2 times 10. So this is what he's got. He's got 20 meters squared of, or he can cover 20 meters squared, let's say. What does he need? This is what he needs. Oh, yeah. He's just about got enough, so yes. Yep, and there is your 6 marks. You show all this, all these little bits of working out. I mean, if you don't get anywhere near 20, you know you've gone wrong somewhere. So that's a big clue. But yeah, 6 marks for that. That was a good question. I like that one. So that's section A done. In the next part, I'm going to look at section B, which is the calculator one. Okay, so section B, this is the calculator one. And this should be the main section. It's worth 48 marks out of 64. So yeah, a lot of marks on this paper. Let's have a look at the first question. Question 1. Karen needs to buy a new fridge. The fridge must fit in a space in the kitchen. Space has a width of 19 inches, depth 22 inches, and a height of 36 inches. Karen sees these fridges for sale. So you've got fridge A, B, and C. Ooh, notice these are in centimeters. We're told that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Karen will buy one of these fridges. Choose a suitable fridge for Karen to buy. You must show your working. And it's worth 3 marks. So a common mistake with this one is a lot of students tend to change all of these in the table. How many have we got? We got 3 by 3. We got 9 values here. So you'd have to change all 9 if you're going to change all of the ones in the table, which I wouldn't recommend. You know, you've only got 3 dimensions for the space. So isn't it easier to just change the space from inches to centimeters rather than all of these? You'll be there, you know, quite a while trying to change all of these in the table. So let's use the conversion. 1 inch equal to, let me write this down, 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. And the reason why I write it down is because it helps me to understand, am I multiplying or am I dividing? So I'm going to change the inches. So for example, 19 inches, that's going to go underneath. the 1 inch there. Yes, I'm going to write 19 inches. Let's put 19 inches like that. So we're going this way. And now we'll look at the numbers. I'm going from 1 to 2.54. So you're going from a small number to a big. That's got to be times by 2.54. So therefore, we'll have to multiply 19 by 2.54. Let's do that on the calculator. So 19 times 2.54 as a decimal is 48.26 centimeters. Okay, so that's the what was that? That was the width of the space. Okay, so W is 48.26. Okay, let's do the depth. Let's do the same for the depth. So 22 inches. Let's do the same. So 22 times 2.54. So that was for the width. This is for the depth. Okay, so 22 times 2.54, which is 55.88 on my calculator. That's in centimeters. And finally, the height is 36 inches for the space. So height is 36 times 2.54. What does that give me? That gives me 91.44 centimeters. So if this is for the space, it can't be more than these values. So it can't be more than that. Can't be more than that. And it can't be more than that. So it has to be less than these values for the fridge to fit in the space, if that makes sense. Let's have a look which fridge. So let's have a look at 48. So it has to be less than 48. Well, the only one that's less than 48 for the width are these two, A and C. So straight away you can eliminate B. So it could be A, could be C. Has to be less than 55 for the depth. Okay, yeah, that could still be A and C. And for the height, has to be less than 91.4. Oh, 1 second. 91.44. So C is too big. Can you see? C is greater than 91.44. So that is too big. So definitely C is not going to fit. The only one that's going to fit is fridge A. Yep. So there is your answer. And you just put fridge A. Yeah, obviously you'll get 2 marks for you working for showing these 3 values, and you'll get 1 mark for your answer. 3 marks in total. Let's move on to the next question. Question 2, we have a diagram, and it looks like it's asking, write down the coordinates of point C. So for coordinates, you always start from the origin 0, 0, and you go across the corridor and down the stairs in this case. So across the corridor is 1, down the stairs is -1, so that will be, so you open brackets, 1 to go across, -1 to go down. Yep, there's your answer, and that's how you write coordinates. You need to have the brackets as well. Mark with a cross the point D on the grid so that ABCD is a parallelogram. Oh, okay. So I reckon, yeah, so you got 3 points here. There's actually 2 answers. You could have a point somewhere around here. A really weird parallelogram. Usually I think most people would probably put their answer around about here, but where exactly does it go? Well, if it's a parallelogram, it will be, there will be some kind of symmetry involved. So for example, to get from A to C, if I start at A, I go 1, 2, 3 across and 2 down, it'll be the same pattern from going from B to D. So 1, 2, 3 across, 2 down, 1, 2, 3 across, 2 down is right there. Yeah, and that's my point D. Has to be here, can't be anywhere else. And if you join up all the dots, or the crosses, sorry, if you join them up, you will get your parallelogram. But you don't need to join them up, you just need to put where the cross goes, which is right here. Write down the sum of the angles in a parallelogram. Well, for any parallelogram or any four-sided shape, it will always be 360 degrees. Yeah, hopefully you know that. Just think of any four-sided shape, could be anything. For example, if you split that in half, you got two triangles. Each one has got 180 degrees in their angles. So altogether, 180 plus 180 is 360 degrees. 3 marks for that. Let's move on to the next question. Question 3. Carla is the director of a building company. She employs builders at a site in Hull and at a site in London. The average day rate of her builders in London is £153. In Hull, the day rates she pays her builders are shown in this table. So you've got builder A, B, C, D, and so on. The builders in Hull say the average day rate is less than £153. Carla says the average day rate is the same in Hull and in London. Show how both these statements can be true. You must show your work in 4 marks for this question. So, yeah, it's a bit of a strange question, but hopefully you've noticed. Obviously, they're talking about average. When they're talking about average, they could be talking about mean, median, mode, or range. Yes, these are the 4 different averages. Usually they're talking about mean, but in the context of this question, you know, they said the builders in Hull say the average day rate is less than 153, whereas Carla says the average day rate is the same. So the only way that they could be true, if both statements can be true, is if one of the, let's say the builders, they used one type of average and they got this answer, and Carla uses a different type of average and she got this answer. That's the only way that both statements can be true. So we're going to have to check which one applies to which person. So which of these averages applies to the builders, which one of these averages applies to what Carla said. I'll tell you what, I'll do the range first. Let's do the range, which is probably the easiest one, I suppose. Let's say. So range is the difference between biggest one, take away the smallest one. Yep, so that's got to be, so from the table, 298, take away, which one's the smallest one? 75. And let's work that on the calculator. 298 take away 75. Oh, we get, in pounds, £223. So, the range, does that help? Well, the builders said it was less than £153, so obviously that's not right. So I can't use that. I can't use the £223. Well, I can't use the range for the builders, what they said. Carla said it was the same. What was the one in London? Well, the one in London, the average day rate in London is £153. So Carla thinks it's the same as £153. The builder said it was less than £153. Well, the range doesn't answer any of those. It doesn't match any of those statements at all. So ignore the range. It must be a different average. So range, let's eliminate that one. What about the mode? Well, the mode, there is no mode. Can you see there's no value that's repeating? So again, we can ignore that one. So I reckon it's got to be the mean and the median for our 2 averages. Let's do the median first. So let's do the median of this table. So I'm going to have to put them in order first, aren't I? Let me just move it down a little bit. Okay, so let's put them in order. 75, 84, 89. What's next? 115, 120, 290, and finally 298. Okay, so there's my list in order. Let's work our way towards the middle. Let me get a different color pen. So that goes with that. That's gone with that. That's gone with that. We're left with one in the middle. So my median, in this case, is £115. So median equals £115. So does that apply to any statement? Let's just double check. Let me just go back up. Well, is it the same as 153, which is what Carla said? No, but it is less than £153. So therefore, that means the builders are correct. Yep, so if you use the median, the builders are correct. So there's your proof that the builders are correct. Now, I reckon if you work out the mean, which is the last average that we haven't done yet, I reckon it will be, that will be for Carla. Let's just double check. So let's work out the mean, which is, you'll have to add these up together so I can still see the numbers here. And let's just add them up. Obviously, because it's on the calculator paper, you can just use your calculator. You still have to write all of this though. Yeah, it's part of your working out. Let me just draw a straight line. How many got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. Let's do the total first. So 75 plus 84 plus 89 plus 115 plus 120 plus 290 plus 298 equals 1071 over 7. So if you divide that by 7, ooh, we do get exactly £153, which is what Carla said. Yeah, she said it was the same as £153. So yes, there is your proof that Carla is correct. There is your two statements. So the only way to answer this question, obviously it's talking about average, you're just going to have to check which average works for these two statements, because you do have two statements. One here, that's one statement, and that's the second statement. And the only two that work are median for the builders, mean for Carla. And that's why they are both correct. 4 marks. That's a nice question. I like that one. Well, let's move on to the next one. Question 4. Last year, 123 students left college with a pass in English. This year, 27 more students than last year left the college with a pass in English. The college says the number of students leaving college with a pass in English has increased by 24% from last year. Is the college correct? Show why you think this. It's only 2 marks for part A. Okay, I'll have a look at part B in a minute. But yeah, hopefully you've realized, well, there's 2 ways you can do this one. One way is, you know, when you have a change happening in the question, and it's talking about percentage, you could use percentage change formula, which is percentage change equals change over original times by 100. Well, there's your change. It's 27 more students this year than last year. So you don't even need to work out the change. They've done it for you. So you could do, this is one way of doing it. I'll show you another way. But one way is 27, that's your change, over the original, which was last year. Which one came first? 123. And just times that by 100. This will tell you what percentage change actually was. So if you type that in your calculator, times by 100, as a decimal, looks like 21.95 roughly, and it goes on forever, percent. So they said it was increased by 24%. So obviously it's not increased by 24%, so that's a no. Yeah, because it's not the same as 24%, is it? So that's one way of doing it, using the percentage change formula. Another way you could do it is you could actually work out what is actually 24% of the original and compare it with 27. So you could work out 24% of, so 24% of the original, which was 123. Let's work that out. So 24% of 123, and that gives you 29.52, which is obviously not the same as what they said, 27. Yeah, so again, that is a no. So obviously, whichever way you do it, makes no difference. Still going to be a no in this answer box here, but you just have to show some kind of working out either method 1 and show these numbers, or method 2 and show these methods. I'm sure there are other ways as well, but I'll just show you two methods, and that's good enough. Part B, use a reverse calculation to show a check of your answer. So for example, it totally depends which method you did use. So for example, if I used method 1, because it's a reverse calculation, I'm going to have to work backwards. So let's say I did use method 1. I'm going to have to start with my answer, 21.95. And the opposite of times by 100 is divide by 100. And at the same time, the opposite of divide by 123 is times by 123. And this should give me, even without my calculator, I know it's going to be 27, the other number that's missing. But if you type it in your calculator, it will confirm. Yeah, okay, all right, you get 26.99. Let's call it 20. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll type in, because I rounded my answer to begin with, that's why, which is roughly equal to 27. Yeah. If you chose method 2, let me just go back up to method 2. So the opposite of that, obviously you're going to have to start with your answer, 29.52. 29.52. And the opposite of times by 123 is divide by 123. And at the same time, I'll have to multiply by 100. Yep, and again, even without my calculator, I know it's going to be 24, the other number. Let's just type it in though. Hopefully this one is exact. Yeah, it does give me exactly 24 as my answer. So the idea is, you want to show one of the original numbers in the question. So either 27, which they said here, or 24, which they mentioned here. Yes, that's the idea behind it. So obviously, depending on your method that you chose in part A, work backwards and show one of the original numbers in the question. Let's move on to the next question. Question 5. Tim did a survey at a large shopping centre. He asked 400 visitors to the centre to choose the main reason for their visit. The reasons were shops, free parking, food court, and location. Complete the two-way table. Where's that? For 3 marks. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so two-way table is dead easy. All you do, you just fill in the blanks for 3 marks. Wow. Okay. And because we've got a calculator, I'd probably use it. I mean, you could probably see some of these are pretty obvious. You can just do, for example, 21 and 23, just add them two together, you get 44 here. Yep. I'd probably do the bottom one then. So 400 take away, let's do it on the calculator. 198 take away 62 and take away the 44 as well. I should have 96 here. Now I can do this one, which is 56. And now I can do this one here. So let's do 227. Take away 38. Take away 56. Take away 23. I should have 110 here. And 198 take away 110 is 88. That goes there. Oh, I can do this one as well. 62 take away 38 is 24. And now if I add these, or in fact I could just take away 400 take away 227. I get 173 here. Let me just check if I've done that right. Let me just add these together at the top. So 88 plus 24 plus 40 plus 21. Yeah, it does give me 173, so I've done it right. Yeah, so I think it's worth checking. I have seen people get these wrong before. Even if you make a tiny mistake somewhere in that table, it will be wrong somewhere else as well. So yeah, just be careful. But yeah, for 3 marks, just for doing that, that's pretty good. Let's move on to the next one. Part B says, from the people taking part in this survey, one person is chosen at random to get a prize. Find the probability of a female who chose location gets the prize. So, in fact, it's not just this bit of information here in the, where it says part B. It's actually this bit here as well above. This bit tells you who they're picking from. So, from the people taking part in the survey, one person is chosen at random. Okay, so that means they're picking from, let's go back to the table. They're picking from everyone. Yeah, so they're picking from, in this case, I mean, they could have said anything. They could have said, you know, out of the people who went to the food court, for example, what's the probability that they were male? So that would be out of 96, for example. So it completely depends what they said to begin with. They will always split the question in 2 parts. So this bit tells you the denominator. So in this case, it's out of 400. And this bit here tells you the numerator. So let's go to the table again. So a female who chose location. Let's have a look at the table. Female who chose location. So can you see female and location is this one right here, which is 23. So it must be 23 out of 400. And it didn't say simplify, just put your answer. And in fact, I think at the bottom, there you go. Yeah, so you put 23 out of 400 like that. Yeah, and that gets you another 2 marks. Obviously, you get 1 mark for the numerator, 1 mark for the denominator. Let's move on to the next question. Question 6. Wahab sells cars. The table shows information about the number of cars he sold each week for the last 26 weeks. So you've got number of cars sold each week, and you've got frequency as well. Wahab estimates he sold a mean average of 10 cars per week. Is this estimate of the mean correct? Show why you think this for 3 marks. So you got these spaces here for a reason. So hopefully you know what to put in these little spaces here. So this means you've got a range of values. So this is between 1 and 5 cars sold, and he did that twice in the week. So you know, for the mean, we can't do this times this. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, because usually we do multiply across for our third column, but I can't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So we're going to need midpoints first. And if you're not sure, what I would recommend is if you add these two together separately, so on the side or just somewhere here, add them two together and halve it. So obviously that's 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Yes, so the first one, midpoint is 3. Do the same for the second one. You could probably do it in your head. 16, half of 16 is 8. Half of 26 is 13. Half of 36 is 18. If you can't do it in your head, just you can use your calculator, just add them together and halve it. Okay, so these are the midpoints. Now we can multiply across. Let's call this frequency times midpoints. You don't need to label it, but you can if you want to. 2 times 3 is 6. 12 times 8, I'll do that on the calculator, that's 96. 9 times 13 is 117. 3 times 18, pretty sure that's 54, yeah. And you add this column together, so you need a total for your fourth column, so 6 plus 96 plus 117 plus 54, 273. Yep, and you also need total of your frequency. Well, it should be 26, because they mentioned that in the question, but let's just double check. 2 plus 12 plus 9 plus 3. Yeah, it's 26. There you go. That goes there. So to work out the estimate of the mean, you will have to do 273 divided by 26. 273 divided by 26, which is, as a decimal, 10.5 cars per week. What did he say? Wahab estimates he sold a mean average of 10 cars per week. You know what? He's pretty close. So you could either say yes, because he's pretty close. I mean, it is an estimate at the end of the day. You could say yes, they will accept that answer, or you could say no. I have checked the mark scheme, and they will accept either answer. The main thing is showing the 10.5. Obviously, if you don't get 10.5, then you won't get any marks. But I would say yes. It's pretty close enough. Yep. So is this estimate of the mean correct? Yeah, I think so. Yep, 3 marks for that. Let's move on to the next question. Question 7. Front elevation and the side elevation of a cuboid are drawn on the grid below. Okay, so it's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter for each square. So there's your front and there's the side elevation. Find the volume of the cuboid for part A. 2 marks. So hopefully you should realize what this 3D shape looked like, and it is actually a 3D shape, definitely, because it says it's a cuboid. So what I would do, if you're not sure, I would draw what they're talking about here. Just do a quick sketch. So how many squares across is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 3. So 6 this way, 6 centimeters that way, and 3 centimeters high. There's the front, and then for the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, going into the page, going this way. Yeah, and then you can just draw 3D shape. So that's what it looks like. That's the side. Obviously that's 3 as well there. Yeah, and now we can do volume the old-fashioned way, which is length times width times height, or you can call it depth, whichever. So I need length, which is this one, times width, which is this one, and just one height, which is this one. So 6 times 4 times 3, 6 times 4 times 3, which is 72. In fact, let me write this in here. Centimeter cubed. Yep, so obviously you get 1 mark for your working, 1 mark for your answer. Then it says draw the plan of the cuboid. Let me just highlight that bit there, keyword, on the grid below. So let's just go back to our sketch. The plan is when you look at the shape from the top. So if you have a bird's eye view, you'd only see that face there, which is technically the same as the bottom or the base, and the base is 6 by 4, and obviously that's a rectangle as well. So all you have to do is draw anywhere on the grid, doesn't matter where it is. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously you guys use your ruler in the exam. Definitely don't do what I'm doing. There you go. That's all you do. You don't even need to label it as well. You just we know that's going to be 6 across, 4 going this way, anywhere on that grid, and you get 2 marks just for doing that. 4 marks in total. Yep. Well, let's move on to the next question. Question 8. Mina runs a football club. She needs to order size 3, size 4 and size 5 footballs in the ratio 6:2:1. Mina needs to order a total of 180 footballs. Complete the order form for Mina. So there's lots of space. And there you go. There's a little table there. Size 3, 4 and 5. And how many we need for each one. So for a ratio question, I always write the ratio down first. Let's just see what we've got. 6:2:1. So what does the 6 represent? So they said she needs to order size 3, size 4 and size 5. So size 3 represents 6 parts. So I'm going to put size 3 for that one. Size 4 is the next one, and size 5 is the next one. There you go. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. That's S and a 5. Okay, so yeah, it's the order that they say, isn't it? 6:2:1. She needs to order 180 footballs, so this represents total. So therefore I need total ratio 6 plus 2 plus 1, which is that's going to give me 9 parts, let's say. Okay, don't be tempted to add these together, you know, the 3, the 4 and the 5. I think that's a very common mistake with this question. Don't get mixed up with 3, 4 and 5. Nothing to do with that. Well, it is partly to do with that, but in our working out we're not going to use 3, 4 and 5, are we? So those 9 parts in total represent 180 footballs. Yeah, that's the total. Okay, let me just move the screen down. So if 9 parts equals 180 footballs, 1 part will be 180 divided by 9, which is exactly 20 footballs. There's your crucial bit, finding out what 1 part represents. Let me just highlight that bit there. And now we've done the hard part. It should be easy now. So let me just move up. So size 3. Let's do size 3 here. How many parts did size 3 have? That had 6 parts. So 6 times 20 which is, there's my first answer, 120 footballs for size 3. Size 4 is 2 parts, so 2 times 20, which is 40. And size 5 equals 1 part, which is obviously 1 times 20, which is 20. And if you add these up, you should get 180, and we do. Yep, it's a good way of checking that you've done it right. Let's put these on the order form, so it's 120, 40 and 20. Right. There you go. Yep, there's my answer. How many marks was that? 3 marks in total. Obviously you get 2 marks for your working, 1 mark for your correct answers. Let's move on to the next question. So there's a part B for the question 8. Let's have a look at part B, which says Mina also needs to buy medical equipment. She needs 23 packets of plasters. 1 packet cost £4.49. A box of 5 packets cost £20.25. Can Mina buy 23 packets of plasters for less than £100? Show why you think this, for 3 marks. Well, first of all, if you multiply £4, let's get 23 packets by doing 23 times, how much is each one? £4.49. I don't think it's going to work, but let's just see what we get. I'm pretty sure that this will be more than £100. Let's just double check. So 23 times 4.49. Yeah, so I get £103.27. So definitely can't do it this way. So you're gonna have to use this special offer. A box of 5 packets cost £20.25. Very common mistake with this one is a lot of people would divide this by 5 to get what 1 packet costs, but you can't do that. You know, like in real life, you can't go to the supermarket and split that packet of 5 into just one. You know, it doesn't make sense. So think of it in real terms. What you will actually do, you'll have to buy multiple packets of these boxes. So how many 5s go into 23? Let's double check. So 23 divided by 5 is 4.6. So you're going to need 5 boxes. Let me just fix that. 5 boxes, which is obviously going to be 25 packets of plasters, but you know, there's no other way of doing this one. Unless you split the cost with 4 boxes. Let me try 5 boxes first. So let me try 5 boxes. What does that give me? 5 times 20.25. Yeah, this is not going to work, is it? Because this is going to give me more than £100. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's £101.25. We're getting pretty close. What I would do then is, why don't we buy 4 boxes? 4 boxes will be 20 packets, and then you just need an extra 3 single packets to add on there. I think this is the only way. So let's do 4 times, how much was each box? £20 and 25 pence. Let's do that first. 4 times 20.25. Okay, that gives me £81. Yep. And 3 times, a single packet costs £4.49. So if I do 3 times £4.49, That gives me £13.47. So if I add these two together, I'm pretty sure we should get less than £100. Let's double check. Let's see. So let's add 81 to that. Yeah, that's the one. So that gives me £94.47. So that's the only way that you can get 23 packets. And we can say yes, she can. Yeah, and that's the only way that she can get 23 packets, less than £100. If she tries any other way, it's going to be more than £100. So this is the only way. Well, let's move on to the next question. Question 9. ABC is a triangle. ACD is a straight line. Work out the value of x for 2 marks. Part A says, okay, well, you're going to have to work these out separately. So first I'm going to have to work out this one here inside the triangle. So let's work out this angle first. So hopefully you know that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to have to do, let's call this angle, so you have to do it in order, and it's the middle one that you're talking about. So ACB, because we're talking about the middle one, equals 180 minus 63 minus 58. Yep, we can just add them together and then take it away from 180. Should get the same answer. 180 take away 63 take away 58. That gives me 59 degrees. That goes here. So if that's 59 degrees, these two together should add up to 180 because it's angles on a straight line. So now we can work out angle x. To work out what angle x is, you'll have to take away from 180 degrees. Yep, let's do that on the calculator. That gives me exactly 121 degrees for my answer. I'll put that in the answer box. Yep, 2 marks for that. So obviously get 1 mark for your working, 1 mark for your answer. Part B says use estimation to check your answer. Keyword estimation. When it says this, you could work backwards, you could work forwards as well for this, because you're just using estimation to check. I'm gonna work backwards, but obviously because it says estimation, you have to round your numbers. So I'm not going to use 121. Let's call that 120 to the nearest 10. What was the last thing I did? So I did take away 59. So instead of take away 59, opposite of that is add. And instead of 59, let's call it 60. That gives me 180. And you can probably do one more step further if you wanted to. I'd probably do... No, let's leave it like that. I'm going to leave it like that. That's absolutely fine. Yep, that's good. That's good enough. 3 marks in total. Let's move on to the next question. Question 10. There are roadworks on a motorway. The average speed limit is 50 miles per hour. A car travels a distance of 18 miles in 24 minutes. Is the average speed of the car less than 50 miles per hour? Show why you think this for 3 marks. So obviously this is to do with speed. Let's see what we've got. So we've got distance 18 miles. And we have time 24 minutes. We're trying to work out the speed. Let's do our funny triangle, which I tend to use. I know some people don't like this, but I like using it. So from left to right, sausages don't talk. And obviously I have to do distance divided by time, because you're trying to work out the speed. That's the one you cover up. But I can't do 18 divided by 24 because it's not miles per minute that I need, it's miles per hour, because I'm comparing it with this right here, which is in miles per hour. So I'm going to have to change the minutes to hours first. So that is 24 minutes out of 60. You could do it as a decimal if you wanted to. 24 divided by 60, which is 0.4, and that's going to be in hours. So that's much better. Now I can do 18 divided by 0.4, and that gives me exactly 45 miles per hour. So if you don't get 45 for your answer, you've gone wrong somewhere. Is the average speed of the car less than 50 miles per hour? Yeah, 45 is less than 50. So, yes. Yep, there's your 3 marks. Put yes in that as well. There you go. So yeah, just be careful. For speed, you just have to be careful with the units. Always recheck what units they're using. What units do you actually need as well. I always do this. I always list them like this. See what I've got. And I always write the units as well, just to help remind myself what have I got, and double check what do they need. Yep. Let's move on to the next question. Question 11. Mario uses wire to make earrings. Mario uses wire to make a circle with diameter 25 millimeters. He then adds a star shape made from wire. All the sides of the star shape have length 9 millimeters. Mario has 3 rolls of wire. There are 500 millimeters of wire on each roll. Mario is going to make 8 of these earrings. Will Mario have enough wire to make 8 of these earrings? 5 marks for this question. So, yeah, hopefully you've noticed, obviously it's a circle question, it even says it's a circle question. So, first thing you should ask yourself is it to do with area or is it to do with perimeter? And from the clues, it looks like, you know, the wire is going to go around this shape. So obviously all these dark lines here represents the wire. So we need the perimeter of the circle, or this fancy word for that is circumference. And obviously we're going to need to add all these lengths as well to get the total length of the wire. So which formula are we using? We'll be using, it's either going to be cherry pies delicious or apple pies are 2. So that's what I use to help me remember, because I guarantee, you know, every single year people get these mixed up. So if you remember, cherry pies delicious, apple pies are 2. It's a quick way of remembering which one's which. So obviously this one's to do with circumference, so that's the C. So we're going to be using cherry pies delicious for this question. So let's write cherry pies delicious. Pi is going to be 3.14, and on the front of the paper it should say that as well. Times by D, well, D is the diameter, which is 25. Yep, let's type that in the calculator. So 3.14 times 25 gives me 78.5, and that's going to be millimeters. Okay, so that's the length of the circumference for one of these earrings. Plus we're going to need to add, how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got 12 of these lengths, which are 9 millimeters each. So 12 times 9, which is 108 millimeters. So the total for one earring, let's say, is 78.5 plus 108. What does that give us? 186.5. So let me just move my screen down. I should have done all the working out down here, but makes no difference. Hopefully you guys can see that. 186.5. That's for one earring though. How many earrings he or she wants to make? Well, he wants to make 8 earrings. So 8 earrings. 8 times 186.5. Let's work that out. So 8 times that is 1,492 millimeters. Okay, so this is what he needs. I'm going to write that down. What has he got? So he has 3 rolls of wire. There are 500 millimeters of wire on each roll. So let's work out what he's got. 3 times 500. You can probably see where this is going. That's going to give you 1,500 millimeters. Yeah, and that's what he's got. So can you see it's pretty close? If you don't get anywhere near the 1,500, then you know you've gone wrong somewhere here. We got pretty close. That's what he needs. That's what he's got. So will Mary have enough wire? Yes, you will. Yep, and there's your 5 marks for that question. Well, let's move on to the next question. Question 12. Daniel has a blog about how garages buy and sell cars. The scatter diagram gives information about the amount garages pay for one type of car depending on its age. Okay, so you've got age of car along the bottom in years, and then you've got amount paid by the garage, okay, in pounds. Daniel is going to use the scatter diagram to estimate the monthly payments for a car the garage is going to sell. Daniel knows garages sell cars for 34% more than they paid. The car is 5 years old, and there are 24 equal monthly payments. Work out the cost of one monthly payment. 6 marks for this question. Wow. So usually, you know, for a scatter diagram, we need a line of best fit, definitely, especially in this question, because we need to use the scatter diagram. We need a car that's 5 years old. Yeah, that will tell us the amount that they paid, and then we need to do 34% more of that, and that will tell us how much they are going to sell the car for. Okay, let's work out how much they paid. So we need a line of best fit first. Let me just draw a line. So what you want is something that goes roughly through these crosses, something like yeah, the idea behind it is you want equal number of crosses on each side. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's about right. That's about right. And then, you know, just make sure it's going from end to end. So there's my line of best fit. I'm not entirely happy with that, but let's just go with that. What I would recommend is when you're doing your line of best fit, always check what were they asking for. They were asking for 5 years. So you want a decent point. So can you see where my line actually meets the where the 5 meets the line? 5 years roughly hits it at 8,000. So that's basically what you want to do. You want to kind of like get a decent point or get a decent reading. So I made sure that it went through that point right there, which is technically not on the scatter diagram, but I want a decent point for my answer. So in the mark scheme, your answer has to be between 7,500 and 8,500. So I got between that, exactly between that, which is 8,000. Yeah. So in fact, if I draw my dotted lines, there's my dotted lines. So as you can see, if you go up to 5, hit your line and then go across, I get exactly £8,000 as my answer. Yep, so you do have to show dotted lines as well. Obviously you guys use your pencil and ruler. So therefore, my paid price is £8,000. Okay, you get 1 mark just for showing that. Yeah, like I said before, obviously in the mark scheme for this question, if you get between 7,500 and 8,500, they will accept that. Anything less than that or anything above that range, you know, they wouldn't accept, unfortunately. So yeah, just be very careful, and be careful with the scale as well. It's going up in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 little squares between 0 and 2,000. So it's going up by 500 each time, which is a lot of difference, you know, between each little tiny little increment. So, you know, your answer might be quite different to mine. Hopefully not too different, because you don't want it anywhere less than 7,500, and you don't want it more than 8,500. So it's quite a very small range that your answer could be. So you just have to be very careful. I'm going to use this one, obviously, 8,000. So Daniel knows garages sell cars 34% more than they paid. So we need to do 34% of 8,000. Let's do that on the calculator. So 34 divided by 100 times by 8,000. That gives me £2,720. And because it's 34% more, I need to add that on to the 8,000. So it's 2,720 plus that, which gives me £10,720. Okay, so that's the total amount that he needs to sell the car for. They were asking how much, work out the total, the cost of one monthly payment. Well, he's going to pay it in 24 equal monthly payments. So we need to divide this by 24. Yep, so if I divide that by 24, okay, it gives me 446 points. So yeah, on my calculator it's a 6 with a recurring symbol. I'm going to have to round that. I'll round that down to 66 pence. If you round it up to 67, it would still be correct. They would still accept it. It's absolutely fine. So you have to do it to 2 decimal places though, obviously, because it's to do with money. So yep, there's my final answer. And that'll get you 6 marks for doing that. That's pretty good, that, isn't it? For one question. Obviously, you have to draw your line of best fit. You need to show your dotted lines and show your working. So that was the last question. Hope you found that useful. And if you did, don't forget to hit the like button. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I shall see you in the next video.